Hello and welcome to week 7. This week we are going to look at other table operations. My name is Mildred. We have looked at how to create a database. We've looked at how to create tables and the different definitions for the table columns. We now want to look at how we can edit these definitions, or we can add new columns or change the name of a table or completely delete a table. First of all, let's look at how we can update records on a table. We are going to work with the classic models database. So I'll use classic models. We want to change the value of a row on this table, and we want to use the update statements, written update. So whenever we want to change the value of a row of information, we use update and then table name, and then we use set the column name now equal to the new value we want to put, where a unique condition that applies only to that row of information. If you don't have the where clause, you are updating all the records in the entire table, which will become a major mistake. Now, what do we do here? We want to say, let's update the customers table, and we want to let's look at the customers table. So I'm going to delete this, select all from. So now we have the customers table, and we can see all of the information that we have. We have different customer numbers. Let's say where this customer number is 125, we want to change something. Let's say we want to change the country of a customer whose number is 125, and the country is initially Poland. We want to change it from Poland to USA. So let's do this. We use the update statement like this. Update, and the table name we want to update is the customers table. So update customers, then set the column name is country. So we set country, that's column name, is equal to, we want to set that value to be USA, where, and we want to choose a unique value that only applies to that row of information, so that MySQL will know to change the value of the country only for this row of information. So we say where customer number is equal to 125. So you see the reason why we have a primary key or an index column, where those numbers are unique and they are not null, and they always have a value, and so we can always use that value as the update condition. So when we run this, we expect that this will become USA for this customer. So I'm going to run this, and we have update customer successful. And when we come back to the customers table, let's select all from customers. We see that 125 now has a country USA updated. So take note that you can update a single row, you can update several rows. Let's say we want to change every country that is France. We want to change it to a new name. You can say update customers, set country equal to USA, where country equal to France. And this will now update everybody that satisfies that condition. And because you update everyone who satisfies the condition, is the reason when you want to update a column for just one record or for a particular row of information, you have to look for what column uniquely identifies that row of information. In this case, it is the customer number. So let's say that we want to modify the states and the postal code columns here. Now we have some null values here, and we're going to have errors when we try to modify state and postal code. We'll come back to using this update statement, and then we'll do the modification. I want you to see the kind of errors that you will encounter and how to fix those errors. So we want to first of all look at how we can add a new column to a table. Let's say that we want to change this column definition. We want to add maybe a created at and a created by column definition for this. We want to alter the table structure and add the new column. In MySQL, we use the alter table command like this. So write alter table, then the name of the table. In this case, we want to alter table customers. So alter table, table name, and then you can start on a new line or continue, and want to say add. Now we want to add a new column, so we'll specify the name of the new column. So we'll say add created at, and now we want to put the data type, and then we put the constraint. So we're adding created at, we want it to be a timestamp. So let's say add created at, it is a timestamp, and we want it to be not null, and we want to set a default value. So the default value will be current timestamp. So we've added a new column created at. The column data type is timestamp, the constraint is not null, and we'll put a default value current timestamp. We want to add more, and we want to add this after let's say we want to add this after, let's look at this. We want to add this after the customer number. We want to add after customer number. So we say after customer number. We put a comma because we want to add more than one column. So we want to add again. We want to add, let's say, created by, and this, let's say this is a voucher, and let's say it's encrypted, so we need a lot of space. Let's say 255. We'll say this is not null, and we want the default to be, let's say the default to be manager. So let it be like the manager created it. All right. So this is the command. Alter table, the table name, add the new column name you want, then you put the column data type, the constraint, after the column name that you want it to come after. Then you want to add created by, and this we can say after also. I want this to be after created at. Okay, and so we have these statements. So we're going to add the created at and the created by column. When we run this and all is well, we will come back here to look at the customers table to see that everything we wanted was added. So I'm going to comment this, and then I will just uncomment this and select all from customers. And then now we can see that we have a created at with the timestamp and the created by column inserted here. So we use the alter table command and the add statements to add a new column to an existing table. If we want to look at this, instead of selecting all from customers, we can use describe customers like this, and it will just give us all the table columns. So let's say describe customers. All right, and so we have all of the definition of the columns for this. So we want to make the postal code and the states, we want to make them not null because they have null values here. Let's say the data analysis we are doing requires that we change this definition of this column, state and postal code, and make it not null. So we can do this by using an alter table statement like we did previously. I will comment this out, and then I will uncomment all of this. So we have alter table customers. So customers table is the table we want to alter. We want to modify the column state and postal code, and so we're going to use modify. So the modify statement written modify like this. So we'll modify the column name now, which is postal code, and we want to change it to, let's say we change the data type to voucher 15, and we want to make it not null, and we want to put a default value, or let's say not applicable. So for countries that don't have states. Okay, and then we want to modify the states also. So every time you want to do the command twice, you use it as a comma separated list. So we'll modify, now we'll modify state, and state is, we want to make it a voucher, and let's say we want to make it voucher 5, and we want it to be not null, and the default we want it to be not applicable also. Okay, so we use alter table, table name, modify the column name, and then you put all of the modification you want to do here. And so when we run this, we're going to have an error. So I'm going to run this, and you see we'll have an error, and the error here says alter table customers modify this error code data truncated for column state at row 1. So this is the error I wanted to generate. Now why we want to do this and it doesn't work is that I'm going to show you something now. When you come to the customers table, let's comment this out and we'll come back to it. So the reason for this error is that we have null values here, and for us to be able to work with this, we have to remove the null values from these two columns, postal code and state. So we previously looked at how we can use the update statements. So now we're going to update customers, but what we are going to be updating now is going to be the postal code. We want to try to make all the null values to have this default for both tables. So we'll say update customers set postal code equal to, let's say not applicable, where now we want to update several. So we'll say where postal code is null, and we'll repeat the same thing for the states. So update this set state equal to this where state is null. Let me put a semicolon here, and I'll put one here. All right, so I'm going to run this now. So updated customers set postal code this where postal code is null, and then we do update customers set state equal to this where state is null. And so we have this error, update customers error code. You are using save update mode, and you try to update a table without a where that uses the key column. Okay, and so this is because of the mode that I'm in. So we can change our mode by going to preferences and looking at SQL editor, and then we reconnect back. So let's see whether we can do that here. Let's say set, so we'll say set SQL save update equal to 0. Let's see if this solves the problem. We run and it solves it. So we turn save update mode here instead of doing it in preferences. So now that we've done it, we are able to update that column of information, and we set them to the default. So anyone that doesn't have a state will have not applicable. Anyone that doesn't have a postal code will have not applicable. So now we can come back to altering this table and modifying the column definition of this. So we want to alter the table and change the postal code to not null, and we'll set the default to this. So what I'll do is to uncomment this, and so I'll comment this out and then I'll run. And so now we still have an error, data truncated for column state at row 3. And so why is this being truncated for column state at row 3? So we say let's set the state is equal to virtual, let's use 15, and then let's run again, and then we'll have everything running correctly because the space wasn't enough. Now when we use describe table, we will see that this postal code and state have been updated. All right, so let's come here and let me run describe customer. When I run this, you will see that the postal code is now does not allow null, and not applicable is the default, and the state also does not allow null, not applicable is the default. All right, so this is how we modify a column definition. We can also change the column name. Now if you want to change column name, you are going to run into problems, especially when that column is the parent table for other tables that use it as a foreign key. And so when you want to do this changing of name of a column, you want to make sure that if it's a parent table, you want to drop all foreign key from the child table first before you can rename the column and then add back the foreign key. But we're going to avoid all of that. But I want you to know that when you get an error, always check if the column you're trying to rename is the parent table for foreign keys. So what we want to do now is to change the column name. Let's select all from others and see what it holds. Okay, so now we have the customer number here. This is obviously a foreign key to the customer number in the customers table, but we can rename this because this is a child table, but we can't rename it on the parent table. We'll have an error until we drop this. So for us to rename a column name, let's say we want to change this from customer number to maybe customer ID, we use the alter table statement like this, alter table, and now we want to have the name of the table, which is others. The next command is change. We're changing the name of the column, so we'll say change column and then the column name. So we'll put the old name first, customer name, and then we'll put the new name to be customer ID. So old name, new name, and then the table properties, the data type, the constraint. We want it to remain an int and we want it to be not null, so we'll leave it like this. You can change multiple column names, but we'll just stop at one like this. All right, and so when we're done, we want to describe, let's describe others. So I'm going to run this, and we have alter column customer name. Sorry, we're changing customer number, not customer name. So customer number, and then we rename this and we have it successful. And so we see we don't have customer number anymore, but now customer ID. When we want to delete a table or delete a column on a table, we use the drop statement. So we say alter table, the name of the table. Let's say we want to drop the created by that we did. So let's describe customers here. So we'll do it in customers, right? So I will delete this and then we'll do it on the customers table. So look at customers, we added created as created by. Let's say we want to delete the created by column. What we do here is to say alter table, the table name is customers. We want to drop, so we use drop for delete in MySQL. So we'll drop, and we're dropping a column, so we'll say drop column. The column name we want to drop is created by. Okay, and so when we do this, we want to describe the customers table again. So when we do this, we see that created by is no longer on this definition. All right, so we can also rename the table completely. So we've seen how we rename a column, but we can rename a table by saying alter table, the table name, and then instead of drop here, you will say rename to. Okay, rename to, and then the new name. So let's say we want to change product lines to, let's say alter table product lines. So we want to rename product lines to, let's say product details. Okay, and when we are done, we want to show all the tables in the database. So let's say show tables. And when I run this, we have the product lines now renamed as product details. So we can see that we can revert it back to say we want to alter table product details and rename back to product lines, and this will do that, and it will rename it back to product lines. We might want to use a different method of renaming this, not using the alter, but we want to do rename table. So the syntax is, I'll delete this, so it's going to be rename table. It will do the same thing and just give us the result. So we're renaming the table product lines, and we are renaming it to product details. Let's say this is what we're doing, all right? And then when we say show tables, we're going to see product line, so we change to product details. And so we have it renamed. So there are two ways we can use to rename this. We can delete the entire table by using the drop command. Drop table, the name of the table. This is destructive, and so when you delete your table, you can't recover. All right, and so that's why when we looked at transactions last week, we can do this in a transaction where things are not successful, they roll back. When it's successful, it commits. So we want to go to our lesson resource and look carefully at all of the different operations that we can perform on a table. So this is where we end this lesson. Thank you and see you next week.